What's going on, guys? Phil here once again, and this is my Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 4 review. I probably could review this game like almost a week ago at this point, but I decided that I would just do it now. But because I wanted to make sure I played everything, make sure I was very thorough with everything before I gave my review of it. And first off, before I say anything, this is supposedly the last Naruto Storm game. Now, does that mean they're going to make another Naruto game in the future, like they've done in the past, like the Naruto RPGs or Naruto Chronicle games, and the handheld ones? Perhaps. We haven't seen any Naruto games really besides this one in a while. But yeah, this is supposedly the final Storm game. It is like I want to say like the 6th or 7th actual Storm game to come out, but this is the 4th, the 4th numbered one. All right, so I'll get into this starting with that I'm a huge fan of Naruto. I love it. My first tattoo is from Naruto. This is one of the animes that made me, tear up at some points, where I actually felt like it did end very well. And I love the games. I've always been a fan of the games. Whenever a new one comes out, I get it. Well, the main Storm series, I guess. I played the Chronicles and the handhelds, a little bit, but I wasn't really a big fan of them. And with this being the last one, I kind of was really nervous and excited to play it and see what it really is about. I guess what I mean by that is, if this is the last Storm game, I was really worried that, are they going to nail this one? Is this going to be a flop? Are they going to pack so much content into this that it's like one of the greatest games I ever played in my life? Or was it so overwhelming for them that they would screw up? And now that I've played the game and gone through a lot of stuff, I've beaten the game. I beat the game actually day one. I took about, I want to say 7-9 hours to beat it. But I also did kind of goof off a little bit in between that. So maybe it only took me about 6 hours, maybe. I'm a little mixed with this game. There's so many cool new features in this that I could not believe. I was finally happy that they added some things into this game. Different types of the story was, very diverse. The introduction of armor breaking, where you can actually break down your character's armor during fights, so they look battle damaged, and it actually looks like you were in a fight. And then I was disappointed with the fact that there are things missing out of this one that I feel like were in the previous ones. Still missing characters that people want to play as, but they will not put in the game. Alright, so that's kind of the opening statement here. First thing I want to start off with here is the story mode. I guess the whole gameplay in general. The game takes place immediately after Sasuke releases Orochimaru after defeating Kabuto. Those of you that are, that have read the manga and watched the anime up to this part remember that. Then the story kind of branches. The story branches off at the start after you fight Madara Uchiha as Hashirama Senju. And it branches off between a Sasuke path and a Naruto path. Kind of what Sasuke's doing while, what Naruto's doing. And I started playing, the Sasuke timeline first because I'm more of a fan of the Uchiha line. And that's kind of how the game started off for me. And Naruto starts off right after, looks like the start of fighting against Tobi in the war, right before they break his mask. And it plays up until the very end of the anime, even including the final fight between Sasuke and Naruto in the Valley of the End. It's a huge, big battle. It's a huge campaign. You think like you get the battle between Kakashi and Toby. Toby becoming the Ten Tails Jinchuriki. Then Madara becoming the Ten Tails Jinchuriki. Sasuke and Naruto getting the Sage of Six Paths power, fighting against him. You get, Might Guy fighting against Mamoru Uchiha. Then you get Kaguya in the battle, and that just there's a lot of fighting, a lot of different segments. Huge segments like Dynasty Warriors, you run on and start beating down waves of enemy ninja. There's like rail shooting segments, which kind of felt a little out of place, honestly. And of course the one-on-one combat scenarios, and then the more interactive one-on-one combat where these giant battles are happening with like Susanoo versus the wood golem of the first Hokage. Naruto's nine-tailed beast form, Sasuke Susanoo versus Toby. Obito. And there are a lot of really huge moments in the game that felt pretty cool, but I want to say the story kind of was a letdown in some ways. I know what was happening, so I knew exactly what was going to happen, but because I knew that, I pointed out some things like, hey, wait a minute, that doesn't seem right. That's not how it happened. Certain characters that make comebacks, like the Kage, were supposed to come back. That didn't happen. The cool little showdown between the 4-versus-1 Sasuke, Naruto, 4th Hokage, and 2nd Hokage fighting Obito. That didn't happen. And I'm not saying it's bad, but I expected a little bit more out of this being the final storyline. Like, the first 15 minutes of this game are ridiculous. The first battle of the game, which also was the demo of the game, you fight as Hashirama Senju, aka the first Hokage, versus Madara. Big battle, huge interactive segments, and then you have these weapons fall out of nowhere that Hashirama can use. So you think, okay, cool, they have interactive weapons they throw on the battlefield and let you use. That's cool. But that was the only segment that had that. It wasn't in the previous the rest of the game. So it felt like it kind of started off big and then kind of went downhill. Maybe picked up at some parts, but then went downhill again. Then after you beat story mode, there's adventure mode, which takes place right after the game, the story mode, where after the 4th Great War, you're just kind of hanging out with Sakura and Hinata and doing a couple little missions, and it kind of leads up into, you'd imagine, the last Naruto movie, because Sakura's trying to pump up Hinata to ask Naruto out and express her feelings and whatnot. Adventure mode is one of those game types where you can run around the village, go on little errands, do little side quests, and find the little memory gems to let you relive previous battles in the Naruto universe. From the very first Naruto series up to Shippuden, fights you didn't get to do in the main game, in the main story, I mean. So it's kind of neat, but I don't know. It is neat, but I don't know. I was just expecting a little bit more out of the end game material. But I'm glad there is something in the end game, though, so that's a plus. That's the multiplayer. Multiplayer is, you got about 67 actual characters you can play as, and they kept talking about over 100 playable characters. But that doesn't. What they mean by that is it includes different costumed characters, or different attack style characters. That adds up to the 100. So it's not really 100 different characters, because you will have the 5 different Naruto, the 5 different Sasuke, the 3 different Kabuto, stuff like that. So it's a bit of a letdown. And while they did add the previous Kage from the different villages in there, like we've been wanting since the last game, and we were very upset that they did not put them in the last game, even though they were fully playable characters. They did not put in other characters that were fully playable in the previous game, like the Gold and Silver Brothers. Those would have been really cool, really fun to play. Still no Aruka Sensei. I'm a little upset by that. There's other characters that they could have introduced. They did not. Other things I was really disappointed with the multiplayer is that online connection is still kind of crappy, yet still within the first week. People, either I cannot get a good game going or people just keep kicking me out. The multiplayer hasn't changed too much since the previous ones, other than now you can pick a squad of 3 people and you can actually shuffle between the 3 characters. So it's not like you're just playing as one character with 2 side characters. Now you're playing as 3. You can cycle through them. You can now do combination jutsus depending on which characters you pick. And there's a meter which fills up. You can use a super awesome secret finisher move depending on which characters you use. It's pretty awesome. Some characters did get nerfed, namely the Uchiha characters with their Susanyo. Susanyos are slower now. They do not act as full shields anymore. And now super attacks can go through them and interrupt the awakened Susanyo mode and deal a shit ton of damage. And I was very, very angry at that. I won't lie, that was pretty much my strategy with the first couple games. I love using Susanyo as my trump card in case I ever got my ass kicked. Besides that, let me see here. It's a lot of gameplay on there. Graphics wise, the game really looks like any of the previous games. You might tell a little bit better quality because it's on the PS4 now and Xbox One, but the graphics aren't really too different, which is kind of disappointing, with its first entry on the PS4 and the Xbox One. I hoped that they would up the graphics engine a bit. It's not bad. It looks good. It does look good still. Sound effects, songs really are going to be the same from the previous games. There's no difference, but they do fit well. God. I don't know. I'm just trying to think. This game was... I was so pumped for this game, and now that I beat it, there is something I feel like is lacking of this game. They did announce 4 pieces of DLC, which is going to include new combination jutsu, new scenarios, new costumes, stuff like that, and including the last DLC, which will introduce 4 new characters, which they have announced being the Sound 4 from the original Naruto series. Finally being playable characters. Great. Something the game does really well is the fact that you can actually, instead of having to pay for all the freaking costumes like the previous games made you do, you can actually earn them in-game by getting materials that you get from just playing online or playing the story or adventure and making the costumes, which is really cool. I really do respect that instead of them having you pay like $2 or $3 per costume, which was freaking nuts. I think that's really it for my Naruto review. After all things said and done, I'm thinking... I'm going to give this game an 8. An 8 out of 10. It is a great Naruto game. In some ways, it is better than previous ones, but in some things, it is lacking. For this to be the final game, for them to have taken like 3 years to make at this point, 2 or 3 years to make at this point, I expected a little more. But maybe the DLC will change that. We will see, though. I was hoping they would release like adult Sasuke, adult Naruto, the adult characters as playable DLC characters, but they did not. So, but that's going to be it. I enjoyed it. Hopefully you will enjoy it as well. Please like and subscribe. Let me know what you thought of this game. What did you think of Naruto? And what do you think about them creating a new series based off the new characters, which is supposedly going to be happening? Boruto, Sarada, and stuff like that. But I'm running out of time, guys. I will see you guys on the next video. Hopefully I'm going to be putting one up soon, but take it easy, guys.